What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It's Sunday evening. Wanted to check in with Canes fans. Just did a long kind of recap post on canesinsight.com talking about the 2025 season, really collecting my thoughts and putting them on paper. So check that out on canesinsight.com. But today, wanted to talk about some big-time offers in recruiting. This is that time of the year where the new names start emerging, right? Recruiting really heats up around this time because not only are you pursuing guys everybody knows, you are uncovering future players, future stars, the guys that you don't want to be late on, especially locally, that you want to hit first. So Miami has offered two local defensive linemen that really are interesting projections when you look at just the way that they play, their background, their location, the whole thing is really cool. And I'm going to start with Josh Johnson out of Key West. So Key West, not exactly a hotbed of Miami football in general. Did get the Matt Dador, George Myra out of that region. You had a couple other guys. I think Patchen's dad was from there. You had a few Key West Conch Miami Hurricanes, but not exactly a hotbed. But Josh Johnson out of Key West, earning an offer, 3-star defensive lineman, 6'5", 260, and very interesting profile. I'm going to pull up the huddle on him right now. But this is a guy who plays both ways, multi-sport, does track and field, finished, qualified for state in the shot put, 47 and 3 inches, district champion in the shot put, qualified for regionals in the discus, just visited for the Cal game. So today's February 1st. Yesterday, he visited for that basketball game, which is an unfortunate loss for the Canes. Obviously, we'll talk about that with Pete, but that was a tough one for the Canes, losing that one. But Josh Johnson was in attendance and visited with Mario. Saw a picture of him and his family there, and really interesting prospect and a fast rising prospect. Maybe we'll offer him, and then next day he's on campus. So obviously he is interested. Let's look at some highlights here because it's a very unique profile. So here we go. Let me just pull this up here. As we see Josh Johnson. Let's see what we got cooking here. Only played 4 games due to injury. So, we're not talking about an extensive track record there. Look at this. Just steals the ball from the ball carrier. And look at the speed, man. This guy's legit 6'5", 260. You can tell in the pictures he took on campus. And just look at that speed, man. This guy can really run. I love the fact that he's a 2-sport guy. And look at this. This is the craziest thing to me. He's the kicker. Both of these guys we're going to talk about, he's a kicker, and then boom, look at him run down and force a fumble. Both of these guys that we're going to talk about here are the kicker and punter for their team. So you talk about athleticism, you'll see it with these guys. You see him lined up at defensive end, fast off the snap, runs down, and when he gets close to these guys, he engulfs them. Not the absolute best level of competition, but certainly a physical player. Canes Cat asking what grade. This is a rising senior. So both these guys are class of 27 players, including Joshua Johnson. D Huck saying late night insight with D Money. Yeah, we're trying to make sure we go every single day. Get the Cal Ripken on here. Sunday night jams with D Money, according to Sergio. But yeah, you see him here. You see he can run. Here you go playing offensive side of the ball, left tackle pulling. I mean, the guy's got great footwork, delivers a strike there. But yeah, that was probably the most interesting thing to me is that these 2 defensive linemen that we offered yesterday, we'll get into the second one here in a second, they're both kickers. So I guess that's what we're looking for here. There he quickly discards the guard and makes a play in the backfield. I like these highlights, and I like the way this guy looks in the pictures with Cristobal. It's hard to tell how big these guys are until you see him in person. I have not seen this young man in person, but again, seeing him next to Mario Cristobal, you can kind of gauge how he looks compared to other recruits that have been in that office taking that picture. And he looks every bit of 6'4", 6'5", 260. You talk to people from that area. We have a bunch of Key West posters on canesinsight.com, and they've seen this kid. They said rock solid, hard worker. Boom, look at the physicality there. Here we go. Biggest kicker in Monroe County right there with the kickoff. And then he's running down the field. He can really go once he's running. And then boom, another tackle. That's twice now. You've seen him kick off run down the field and make the tackle for a defensive tackle prospect. You don't see that every single day. Here again, defensive end easily discards a tight end, makes the play. Motor's what you hear about this guy when you read the local reports from people in that area. They say this guy plays extremely hard. Again, you see him playing offense, defense, and special teams. That takes a certain amount of gas tank. But apparently this motor that we're seeing here in these highlights is not just for highlights. This is how he plays every day. Here you see him working to the quarterback against Gulliver Prep. Good to see as a person who's not the biggest fan of Gulliver Prep. There he is in the backfield again. This is only 4-game highlight, which makes it even more impressive when you look at some of the stuff that this guy's doing. Shannon Dawson offered him, which is, again, pretty sweet gig for old Shannon Dawson. He's recruiting in Monroe County. I'm sure he could see some nice sights, get a nice drink by the water, enjoy the Florida Keys in all their glory. But he did a great eval here. Look at what I like about this clip right here. You see him, he tripped, but he didn't go down. Great balance to stay on his feet. That's something a lot of line coaches talk about when they're looking for both offensive and defensive line prospects is, can they stay on their feet, right? Are they on the ground a lot, and are they able to avoid the ground or cover? That's something, just an athletic trait that teams look for with these guys. And you see it with him. Again, this is highlight reel, but you see him keep his balance quite a few times. Now here, blocking a kick. Boom, one hand, smacks it down quite easily. So yeah, impressive stuff here. There he's pulling. It could be an offensive lineman if defense doesn't work out. I mean, he definitely delivers a shot. There you're seeing bucking 2 guys on the big run. Again, playing left tackle. Gets off the ball with bad intentions. Yeah, theoretically, if he's really 6'4", 6'5", and it seems like he is, you could see this guy also as an offensive line prospect. My understanding is defensive line, but that's something that you could see. Hassan asking, are these guys sleepers? Well, in the case of Joshua Johnson, he has gotten some big-time offers. In fact, both these guys, you call them sleepers, but they're really big P4 prospects now because they're getting a lot of P4 offers. Starting with Joshua Johnson, the 2 schools recruiting him heavy, Georgia Tech and Maryland, and some old friends involved in that recruitment. Georgia Tech's defensive line coach, Jess Simpson, former Miami defensive line coach, and then the guy recruiting him to Maryland, Corey Leggett, who you guys may remember, Miami recruited very, very hard out of Hialeah High, went to Illinois, ended up being a first-round pick of the San Diego Chargers, now the Los Angeles Chargers. So some good guys after old Joshua Johnson, some old friends. I'm sure that list of offers will continue to grow, especially as he gets more film. I mean, that's a good 4-game film. We'll see what the spring looks like. If the spring looks dominant, I think those offers are going to keep coming, but Miami's on him early, and he is visiting early, which is always a welcome sight. This next guy I'm going to talk about doesn't even have a 247 profile, at least not one that I can find. That's how much of a sleeper he is. And I wish Peter was here to help me with his name. His name is Steve-Bentley Keumajou Yondi. Hope I didn't butcher that too bad. He's got a Cameroonian flag in his Twitter profile. I heard he may have spent some time in the UK, now in Miami. He goes to Rise Prep, and then I believe he plays football. It's like a homeschool, or that's a small school deal. But since they don't have a football team, he can play other schools as a football player. So I believe he plays football at Coral Gables High School right there next to the University of Miami. And you want to talk about an interesting profile, man. Let's pull up some clips of our boy Classy. Good nickname. What do they call that? Because his name's Bentley. But here we go. Here's some highlights in action. See what kind of football player we're talking about. There you see him at offensive line. Now, one thing about this guy's football clips, you could tell he hasn't played a lot of football. The clips are pretty good. They really get interesting around maybe the end of it here. But you see him, there you see him on a pull. He could definitely move. He's got the size. He self-reports 6'4", 290. He's got clips of him running a 4.9 laser on his Twitter, reporting a Miami offer, Florida offer, Auburn offer. He's blowing up with offers, even without a 247 profile. You see the speed here and the change of direction. I mean, the physical traits are there. I'm sure people are watching this saying, this is not super impressive highlights, good athlete, but that's it. But when it comes to these, and you see him chase down that screen. When it comes to these guys, these new to football type of players, a lot of times you'll see them in their first batch of highlights, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you see the second batch of highlights. In this case, it'd probably be his spring or maybe his senior year, and you're like, whoa. So you want to beat that. You want to beat everybody else to the punch. And I think with this guy, the reason he's getting offers from Florida, Miami, Auburn is because of the physical traits and the bet that as he plays more football, he is going to keep getting better and better. Did well at camps, which we'll take a look at some of the camp performance he's had recently in a second. But what I love about this guy, there you can see, again, the flashes look good. He can clearly run. He's got some coordination. He's got some wiggle to him when he's getting off blocks. See him chasing down from the backside here, making a play at defensive end. But what I really love about this guy is when you see the clips of him at kicker and punter, because you could tell soccer was one of his first sports, because that guy's got a boot on him. Here we go again. Similar to Johnson, you see offense and defense and kicker highlights. But here you go. Look at him, a kicker. Look at this guy, 6'4", 290. Look at this. Boom. The big boot. And then just like Joshua Johnson, he's running down heavy, trying to get a shot. But look, isn't in the first wave. And then here you go. Look at the speed to the sideline to knock him down, man. That was you don't see that every day. Look at this guy, punter, 67 yards, bad snap, gets it easily, good athleticism there to recover. This is against Columbus. And then look at that punt. He might have got an offer off this punt alone. 67 yards against Miami Columbus, alma mater of Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal. And here you see again, this is a high snap this time. Athletic move to recover, and then look at him on the fake. I don't think this is a fake or if this was just a bad snap and they were going to block it. But clearly a really fun athlete to watch. And say, all right, let's see. You see, okay, well, what's his multi-sport background? Look at the multi-sport background on this dude. Here we go. Soccer and basketball. So we know about the soccer. We could tell because of where he's from and the fact that he's making those plays as a punter and kicker. But look at this guy's footwork. Look at this guy's footwork. Boom. Knocks in the goal. And then you see him on the basketball court, soft hands. Put up some nice stats for Coral Gables. I saw a few double-doubles in his highlights as he pumps up the crowd. And then, of course, the football highlights. But yeah, honestly, it's the soccer highlights that get me excited of this guy's movement skills. Also, has been doing well in the camp circuit. I think that'll continue to increase his profile as he travels and goes to these football camps. But here we go. Here we got him one-on-one. You could see he's got those kind of subtle movements. There you see him get right around there. He's flexible through his hips. He has very good. It's not like he's just completely knocking these guys back. It's more subtle flexibility, change of direction to easily get through these guys and get slippery, which is what you want to see, because a lot of that stuff is God-given. He's clearly not a straight line athlete. You tell he's been playing soccer his whole life. Look at the spin move. Boom. Now, these are more recent highlights. Again, as this guy gets coached, you'll see more. Physically, I think there's still a lot of ways to go. He's not exactly built like a basketball player. He's built pretty stout, but I think he can still fill out a lot and get stronger. But I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing from him as a football player in these highlights. And of course, a tip-top athlete. Just for fun, I got to watch his basketball highlights because I always love to watch these defensive lineman basketball highlights. It is something that I find translates a lot because there's only so many guys with this size and athleticism walking the earth. Look at this. Change of direction. Boom. With the block. And he gets the ball. Nice finish. Soft touch. I mean, this guy, he's got some finesse to him now. I know the competition. Oh, nice finish there. Avoids the offensive foul. I don't think anybody wanted to take that charge. Here we go. Soft hands. Good footwork. And soft touch. Let's see the free throw for him. Butter. There he goes in the post. Good footwork at the and one. Good hands, too. You see it. He's catching everything easily. Rebound. Very soft touch. Let's get this. We could have used this guy yesterday against Cal. Look at him. Look at the one-man fast break for the big man. There he is, taking a charge, taking one for the team, possibly flopping. So he's from one of these other countries. But yeah, man, I'm fired up about that offer. So pretty cool time. I always love this time of the year because you're seeing guys come on the radar. You're seeing big names potentially commit. We'll see what happens with Mark Matthews, number one offensive lineman in the country, St. Thomas. A lot of momentum for him with the Canes. Nick Lanier, wide receiver now, Carroll City. A lot of momentum for him with the Canes. A lot of quarterbacks in the mix. There's Neiman Lawrence, who is now an American Heritage, reclassified at 2027. We'll see how that quarterback thing shakes out. But just a lot of excitement around the program. Recruiting is hot and heavy. That's what happens when you're hot like Miami is. You have to push the pace. You have to try to get out in front of these recruitments, get kids on campus, as you saw with Johnson going to the Canes basketball, gets offered, goes right to the Canes basketball game. This is the time. Canes got to them. Hoping he's not another Samuel Anelli. Yeah, he wasn't a huge success story there, but different player with our boy Bentley. He's much more of a defensive tackle than Anelli was, just heavier, already close to 290 pounds. A lot of questions about the coaching staff. Jason Taylor, Will Harris interviewed for NFL jobs. I'll give you guys a dirty secret here. These interviews happen all the time. All of these coaches are, not all of them, because they don't all have the opportunity, but you'd be shocked at how many coaches, including head coaches. I'm not saying Mario did, because I actually don't know what happened with that whole Steelers rumor, but I know other head coaches who would never really leave their colleges do these head coach interviews because they like to learn about the NFL process. The NFL likes to pick their brains. Like, this happens all the time. So I don't think it's like breaking news or anything weird. The name, Jason Taylor and Will Harris specifically, I haven't heard, but Will Harris has been in the NFL. Jason Taylor always going to be linked to that Miami Dolphins defensive line job until it's full. So it wouldn't shock me. But again, these things happen all the time. So you just don't hear what happened, like how they turn out, unless they take the job usually. So we'll see. And coaching turnover is a part of success, but would love to keep Will Harris and Jason Taylor. Both of them have done a great job recruiting, done a great job, more importantly, coaching. Their units really, really improved year over year. Jason Taylor's defensive ends, Babe had an incredible bounce back year as the best defensive player in the country. Messidor took his game to a whole new level. You saw progress with guys like Lightfoot. You obviously want Jason Taylor to stay, and Will Harris, that cornerback room and that safety room, which are kind of, him and Zach Etheridge, really more a tag team than cornerback and safeties coach. They've done an incredible job, both increasing the talent from portal ranks, increasing the talent from the high school ranks, and coaching those guys up. So, we'll see. Bagging up saying the Fins are hiring nothing but coaches with Packer ties. Just got the Packers defensive coordinator. Yeah, I don't think they can take the Packers defensive line coach. That's the problem. But maybe they get an assistant out there. I'll breathe a lot easier when that Dolphins defensive line coach is done. Job is filled, because Jason Taylor's not. I don't think he's somebody that's just running around for NFL jobs. He'd like probably to work in the NFL. I'm guessing that's most of these coaches want to work in the NFL and not deal with recruiting in the portal. But I don't see JT as the kind of guy to go to like Minnesota or somewhere like that at this stage in his career. He's got a young child. I think he probably would rather be home, and I think he's very happy at the University of Miami. So we'll see. So far, you couldn't be better in terms of staff continuity. I think that tight end spot will get filled pretty easily, but that's part of what happens when you're recruiting at the highest level. Is when you're playing at the highest level and you're battling at the highest level, your coaches are prone to get picked. Big Butt Jones, appreciates your support. Says, D, do you see the offensive line having 6 dudes who will play? If so, who would those 6 be? Also, does Keona Davis play defensive tackle or defensive end? Good questions. Offensive line definitely needs at least 7 guys. I would say right now, if I had to project 7, I would say McCoy, Sampson, Ryan Rodriguez, Max Buchanan, Jackson Cantwell, SJ as the backup center, and then Jamal Merriweather as backup guard, backup tackle with a chance to compete. So those would be the 7 guys that you really need to step up. We'll see or 6, we'll see how the spring goes. As for Keona Davis, the defensive lineman from Nebraska, he can play both defensive tackle, defensive end. He did both of that. In Nebraska, he was a defensive end, but really somebody who lined up for eye on the inside eye of that tackle, and was playing more of just like a plugger role. It wasn't a role like you see with Miami's defensive tackles or defensive ends where they're flying into the backfield trying to make tackles. So, with him, I would say I see him more as a 3 technique in this system. Big body, 6'4", 275, 280. People said that was too small, but when you see him, he's a big dude, man. Big frame. He's only a true sophomore this year. He's going to be a true junior next year. He's played both years. I think he'll keep bulking up. He'll be like 290 when it's all said and done. And I think he's going to be really, really good and help what Miami's doing. Fits in terms of body type, and more importantly to me, fits in terms of the way he plays. High motor, runs to the ball. does all those things. So I'm a big fan of the Keona Davis pickup. I think you need a lot of guys like that. Armando Blunt, another guy. Is he a D tackle? Is he a D end? All I know is he's a big body, plays hard, plays extremely hard, high motor, can run, all the things you want on defensive line. You kind of figure out the spots later. But I do think guys in that 280 range, more defensive tackles in this scheme. Defensive end, I'm looking at Damon Wilson. I'm looking at Marquise Lightfoot. I'm looking at Herbert Scroggins. I'm looking at Hayden Lowe. Players like that would be my focus. Booker Pickett potentially. So we'll see. A lot of talked about the tight end coach. Give me Todd Hartley or James Coley, both at Georgia actually. Todd Hartley is the tight end coach. James Coley is the running back coach. I'm not sure exactly what position he's there now, but he's coached tight ends in the past. Both guys who have coached at Miami. I think both of them would be great fits, great recruiters. Coley has a history with Mario Cristobal as well. Yeah, Sergio says, sounds like James Brockermeyer was turning it up this week at the Senior Bowl. Fans owe him an apology. And I think fans owe him an apology after he had that great playoff run for the Miami Hurricanes, helping us win all those games against some great defensive tackles. But yeah, look, some of the criticism Brockermeyer had was earned. I mean, some of the snap stuff, and he did have some moments where he got knocked back. It's football, and he'll tell you himself he wasn't perfect. But yeah, the guy's a really good player. I think he showed that over the playoff run, a Hurricane for life, and then you're really, really cheering for him to get drafted and have a good Senior Bowl week, which he did. Really did well in the one-on-one pass blocking, anchored like very few centers are able to do. It's not a very favorable drill for those centers. They're going after him and knocking him back. But he did a really, really nice job. And then Markel Bell, that first rep, got his feet twisted up. Who knows what happened there? I've heard people say he slipped on the wet paint. I've heard people say that his footwork just got him. But either way, he got knocked on his butt the first rep. And after that, he was pretty much lights out. Showed resilience, showed an ability to respond, and he was huge on tape. Just watching that Senior Bowl game, he was bigger than everybody else, even as a big guy. So, he was surrounded by big guys, I should say, and he was bigger than everybody else. So, Markel Bell showing out at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, Robbie saying Ed Pata for the tight end job is another one I think that makes a lot of sense. Now at FIU, formerly part of the staff, brother of the late Brian Pata. Kane Scott, always want to talk baseball. He says, what are the scouts telling you about this Miami Hurricanes baseball team? I was out there, like I said, I want to say Thursday. It wasn't for this weekend scrimmages, but it was during the week. And I did talk to some scouts. They think this team's going to be better than last year. They think these guys are going to really, really hit. The buzz when it comes to that freshman catcher, Alonso Alvarez, is huge. But, Alex Sosa, a great catcher as well from NC State, somebody with College World Series experience and was a top 3 prospect in the draft in terms of top 3 round prospect in the draft. So Miami is really, really blessed at the catcher position this year. Griffin Hugas' brother, Jackson Hugas, will be the third catcher potentially. And this is a guy who started in D1 for Presbyterian. So Miami is loaded at catcher. The hitting is going to be off the charts this year. I think the pitching will, once you get some injured guys back, will be outstanding. We'll be talking baseball plenty over the course of the next couple of weeks and the season. Playboy Bobby said, Neiman Lawrence has publicly said he wants to go somewhere with a track record of developing quarterbacks, and portal reliance will come into play in his decision. Not good. Need to hit on Coleman. Look, I think he's got a great chance to be a Hurricane. We'll see how it goes. As far as the portal strategy, I don't think we have to worry about anything. It's worked like a charm. Number 1 overall pick. Next year, you got another great quarterback, and you're going to the championship game. And now you got Darian Mensah. I have no apologies or regrets about our portal strategy. I think it's outstanding. Now you got to still bring in high school guys. I think you're excited to see 3 guys that Dawson recruited battling here between Judd, Darion Coleman, and Luke Nickel. I'm very excited to see, really excited to see all 3 of those guys competing for that QB2 job. So if one of those guys is going to be the next homegrown quarterback, we'll see it, flashes of it, I should say, in spring. But with Lawrence, look, if I'm a quarterback, I want to go somewhere that's a great offensive line and great coordinators. That's, to me, what makes a lot of sense. A place where quarterbacks do get developed into draft picks, which we saw with those portal guys. Yes, they were portal guys, but they got better because of scheme and the surrounding talent, and their careers benefit. That's why Darian Mensah chose Miami. Now, Neiman Lawrence might say, hey, I could be great, and they recruit a portal guy over me. Well, look, if they do that, you can transfer. The portal's going to be open to him too. But at least give yourself a shot to be in the best situation with the best players around you, the best offensive line around you. Jackson Cantwell, Joel Irvin, Ben Congdon, Mark Matthews, potentially number 1 offensive lineman in the country. Best tackle 2 years in a row going to the Canes, very possible. It's on the table. So That's what I want if I'm Neiman Lawrence. And if you believe in yourself, you believe that you're going to give them no reason to recruit a portal quarterback. It's not like they don't want a young guy to play. They just have to like beat out everybody else convincingly, which hasn't happened yet. I mean, we haven't had someone step to the forefront that way. So you have to go out and get the best portal quarterback. But I think you'll have a chance to see these guys elevate, especially this spring when, Metz is going to do his thing. But after that, it is an all-out battle. And we have a lot of really good receivers. So even as you get to those third-team reps, you're still going to have really good receivers to throw to. You're not throwing to just kind of overmatched walk-ons, which is going to allow you to have a better evaluation of all of these quarterbacks. Mr. Lexiani says, other than Bama and UGA, what other schools develop QBs? I don't think there is. Well, I don't think UGA develops quarterbacks either. Stetson Bennett was a portal guy, really. So he wasn't even homegrown truly. He did come from the portal. And then, of course, now they got Gunnar Stockton. I don't know if they're loving life with Gunnar Stockton. Probably should have gone to the portal. They tried to get Mendoza last year. That would have obviously made their team a hell of a lot better than it was. Carson Beck, who was homegrown for them, portal for us, ended up being a lot better than them keeping their homegrown guy. So our portal Beck was better than their homegrown Gunnar. So I'm not sure I want to emulate Georgia. And then with Bama is developing their own quarterbacks. And I don't think their quarterbacks have been the problem with the team necessarily, but I mean, what's Bama done in the last 5 years? I mean, it's been a while. Maybe, let's see, 5 years ago was their great team with Mac Jones. That was their last real great team. But then since then, look, Bryce Young was great. He's like the model of all these homegrown guys as number one quarterback, number one pick, Heisman, all that stuff. They didn't really win with him. And then Milroe was homegrown. I don't think he really helped them tremendously to raise their ceiling. Ty Simpson this year was good. They didn't really do anything with him. So, I mean, if Bama's our North Star developing quarterbacks, I don't see why we got to emulate them. We had better players than they did recently, particularly at the quarterback position. I take Cam Ward over whoever they've had, and Carson Beck won a hell of a lot more than Ty Simpson won. So, I feel pretty good about the way we've been operating compared to Alabama. If you look at Penn State and Clemson, everybody thought those were going to be the gold standards of homegrown quarterbacks. Drew Aller, Kate Klubnik, 2 5-stars that developed amidst other portal moves elsewhere. They stayed home with their schools, they developed, and they were going to reap the benefits. They ended up playing in the Pinstripe Bowl. Aller wasn't even in it. So if the model going into the year of homegrown development was Kate Klubnik, Drew Aller, what does that show? I saw 2 portal quarterbacks playing in the championship. I saw 4 portal quarterbacks in the semifinal. So I got no problem with the portal, man. I'll go portal all day, every day. But if you develop a guy, great. I don't think there's any, you're not fighting against developing a player. If someone steps to the forefront and is the man, trust me, we'll try to keep him. 1,400 on, like and subscribe to the show. Appreciate everybody. Steve Smith says our trenches were better, not the quarterback. Our quarterback was definitely better than Georgia. I'll tell you that much. Peck over Gunnar Stockton all day. Gunnar Stockton couldn't even throw over the middle of the field. All he could do is run around sideways and get smoked. He lost more games in one season as starting quarterback that Beck lost in 2. So, good luck to Georgia. What else is going on? Yeah, Southpaw saying again, who else is who's even developing quarterbacks? That's what it is. And look, we're developing quarterbacks that are here. Like, it's not like the grad transfers that we have are not being developed. But you don't have to develop them from cradle to the grave. Someone else can do some of the early work, take some of those L's, especially when you're trying to win every single game. All right, I want to shout out my friends at KashKick. Give your free time a raise with KashKick, KashKick, one of the top apps in the country, 4.5 plus average rating in the App Store, 1.5 million plus downloads, all your games, surveys, browsing, all consolidated on this app. You just download the app in the App Store, play around with it, and that money goes right into your PayPal. Again, this is one of the biggest apps in the country, all legit. You could use that money to buy Canes gear, to support Canes Connection, whatever you want to do. But KashKick will get you there. So don't just play games for no reason. Play games for some money on the side with KashKick, KashKick in the App Store. Also want to shout out our friends at Duffy's Tavern. Did a great show from there on Friday. Saw a lot of Canes luminaries. My boy Spike, John Entenberg. Saw Mark from the Hall of Fame. Some major Canes legends at Duffy's. Always right there at the edge of Coral Gables, the home of the Hurricanes, the heart of Miami-Dade County. 60-plus years serving the Miami community. There you go. Look at that nice soup and beer with all the games, with all the regulars. I see that guy in the shades every single day. He might as well live there. 60-plus years, finally accepting credit cards. The spot for true Miami Hurricanes fans, Duffy's Tavern. Sergio, have you checked in on Pete after that Cal game? Yeah, he's struggling right now. I'll tell you that. Our boy Pete is struggling. I'm struggling too. That's the thing with this Canes team. You knew they were going to play close games. And speaking of Canes hoops, in a game like that, I mean, how many times did the ball go just rattle out of the rim? I felt like I've never seen so many balls go not just in and out, but like hard rattles out, like halfway down the net, both free throws and finishes. I mean, a lot of missed layups. Sheldon Henderson had a great look in the lane and just wasn't able to get it done. So tough game. I can't say the effort was weak or anything like that. I think it's just this team is going to play a lot of close games. They're not built to blow teams out. And when you play a lot of close games, there's going to be games where just doesn't bounce your way. I think that's what it was. Free throw shooting continues to be a problem. 3-point shooting continues to be the stuff we knew right going into the year. I think they've been on the high end of the expectations, but you want them to get in the tournament to validate it all. You don't want them to die down the stretch. So really, really disappointing loss. Canes looking to bounce back here coming up, but that was a tough loss. And I can't say it was anything unusual. It's just this is a team that because of the hard-nosed, kind of like football, really, in terms of they're not going to get a lot of blowouts. They're not built that way. They're not as talented as the football team. They're not a championship contender like the football team, but they're built for these kind of knockout, drag-out games. And ultimately, I think what hurts them in some of those games is the free throw shooting. Because if you were built for close games and getting in the paint and playing with physicality, when you're a good free throw shooting team, it makes that a lot easier. Makes it tougher when you're not. But I mean, I feel good about the direction. I like watching this team. I like the way they compete. I get, obviously you're upset because you want them to get to the tournament, and a game like this sets you back. But nothing that's like disgusting to me or like that, you get too worked up about. It's just, this is what this team is. It's a lot better than last year. Obviously already doubled last year's win total, but there's more growth both in terms of this team and the program getting the skill level higher while also maintaining that physical level of play. All right, everybody, like and subscribe to the show. Over 1,500 on. Appreciate you guys. Check out CanesInsight.com. 7.9, almost 8 million posts and counting. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Go Canes.